You know about Patriot Mobile and what they stand for. I've talked about their commitment to faith, family, and freedom, but have you made the switch yet? You'll get exceptional nationwide coverage on America's best networks without sacrificing your values. Get unlimited data plans, mobile hotspots, international roaming, and even a backup line on your own phone. Patriot can do it all. Switching is easy. Keep your number, keep your phone, or get a new one. Just go to patriotmobile.com/Kirk25. That's patriotmobile.com/Kirk25 or call 972-PATRIOT. Use promo code Kirk25 for a free month of service. What is an American is a question that is really echoing across, I think, elite intellectual circles, but also social media circles. What is an American? And you have this book that endeavors to answer that in a very unique way by you're saying the making of the American mind, the story of our Declaration. What is your book about? And what there's a through line I want to dive into, but I'll give you the floor.
No, there absolutely is a through line, and I think it's a very clear through line, to be perfectly honest. But we're coming up on our 250th anniversary of the Declaration itself, which is the timing of it, I suppose. But I've been working on this for a long time, but studying the modern debates, both on the left and the right, about numerous topics. Almost all of them go back to an understanding of what we are as a people. What does it mean to be an American? What are the principles that form us? And there's this conception of what makes us Americans. And the document that is really central to that whole thing, that whole conversation, is the Declaration of Independence, which we oftentimes, will read or we'll hear spoken parts, the famous sections on the 4th of July. Maybe we'll know a little bit about it and its history. I wanted to write a book that tells its own story, the story of the Declaration, how we got it, how it came into being, how Jefferson ended up drafting it for the Continental Congress, how they edited it significantly to make more points. About, among other things, theology, the theological implications of the Declaration, and go through it essentially as a commentary, looking at the Declaration for a general audience very closely, line by line, in a way that people can understand. Because when you understand, you can't really love your country if you don't know your country. And the thing we do need to know is the Declaration of Independence. It is the greatest and the most eloquent statement of freedom in Western civilization, especially in the American tradition. It's a beautiful document, and we should know it. Our listeners should know it. Members of TPUSA, every college student in America, children. It's a beautiful thing.
I'm just looking at the Constitution. It's under Charlie's his hat here and his gift from his daughter, but yeah, he would always flash this thing on the show.
Is it the Declaration or just the Constitution?
I think it has. We have versions. At least we used to with the Declaration.
Yeah, a lot of times they put them together. The Declaration.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but
part of it is the extent to which there are two documents. They go together. You can't understand the Constitution without the Declaration.
Well, and here's something that you say about this. You said Thomas Jefferson called the Declaration of Independence an expression of the American mind, not merely a document. The Declaration is the common creed of our civic life, and it inspires the shared poetry of our political soul. I think that's a really fascinating way to put it. It is a common creed. It is. I guess the question then for you, Doctor, would be, and we just love Hillsdale. Charlie loved Hillsdale, so I didn't give your bio, but you are the Kirby Professor in Constitutional Government and Dean of the Van Andel Graduate School of Government at Hillsdale College, and you have a lot of other titles, which is very academia of you. Your titles are always so long, but I guess the question, the real question of our time is, with how much the nation has changed, with how much technology has changed, how many new cultures have come into the country in the last 40 years especially, can this common creed, this shared poetry of our political soul, can it bring us together again?
Yeah, and that a great question, central question, probably the question for us to think about. But here's the way to answer that. I think that Charlie, among others, I think was getting at when he was studying more and more about these questions, in particular the American founding. The founding occurs in a time period that's not the modern one we are used to being surrounded by and what is taught in college campuses. It was a world in which we still had Christian moral horizons, and we were still within the broad confines of what we might call a classical educational system. And in that way of thinking, the way we think about things that change, technology, methods of warfare, shipbuilding, whatever it might be, there are things that change, but the most important things to understand are the things that don't change. And the things that don't change are those things that have to do with our theological pursuits, which is why the kind of Christian roots of Western civilization are so important, but also the kind of the intellectual, moral, rational roots of our thinking about unchanging principles. And the Declaration really brings, in the American context especially, brings both of those things together in a very deep way. And so the argument of kind of this sense of education that underlies all this is that you know the permanent things, and then these other questions become kind of prudential matters. We can debate about them, we can think them through, but you look at them in light of something else. Today, one of the problems is we look at these things in particulars as if that's the only thing at issue here, this particular policy question. The founders looked at it differently. I think Charlie looked at it differently. I think we at Hillsdale looked at it differently, which is these are all interesting questions. Let's think them through. Let's argue and debate and deliberate, which is why it's so important to have that conversation. But we do so in light of things that don't change, because you can't judge whether something immediate, new is good or bad unless you have a standard by which to judge it.
Right.
And that's really the heart of the Declaration. It's also the heart of the kind of the Westerns, the whole Western tradition, both Christian and rational, going back to the Greeks and the Romans.
Yeah, it's the Western tradition, but I think one thing that's often worth remarking upon is how really fortunate America has been. We were created in a revolution, but you can compare the French Revolution, another Western country, another historically Christian country, and their revolution was spectacularly bloody. We've had other spectacularly violent overturnings of the existing order. Right. And yet in America, ours was relatively peaceful. Even our Civil War, we recovered from quickly. I was wondering if you could comment on, were there special ingredients into the American Declaration of Independence?
Absolutely. And you're again, that is a fabulous question itself as well, because there's we call it the American Revolution, and then there's another thing called the French Revolution. They are diametrically opposed and very different, and it's important to understand the differences, which is why we call it an American Revolution, but more rightly, we refer to it as the American founding. As they were declaring their independence, having a revolution against England, but at the same time, they were starting a new nation. So it really kind of points to the roots in a way that, whereas the French Revolution was all about tearing things down. But there are a number of important differences. One is the American Revolution, American founding, is influenced by the roots of Western civilization that go through, in particular, England, which means it's more religious. It also means it's more tolerant and focused on constitutionalism and the rule of law. The French Revolution really is all the bad aspects of the Enlightenment. The French thinkers, which give rise to the German thinkers and a lot of the modern progressive liberals we have today, which largely rejects, it was very anti-religious, and it was anti-constitutional order. The other aspect I would add to it, which I get into some here, but is another aspect of some of my other scholarship, is the people involved. The members of the Continental Congress, and in particular George Washington, are their particular roles, their characters, their shaping of their values and their moral sensibility. So our revolution ends in Washington making sure we have a constitutional convention, as opposed to the French Revolution ends in people getting their heads cut off, the guillotine, and Napoleon making war on the rest of the world for his own glory. So they can't be, you couldn't have two revolutions that are more different than each other than the American and the French.
Yeah, I mean, the French Revolution, I have not studied it to the extent that Blake has, but it it is, as you said, diametrically opposed to the American experience. By the way, there is something, you hear sometimes these arguments about a case for British colonialism and a case for the British Empire, and it really is a remarkable element.
It was such Britain has shaped the world so much, we overlook how amazing Britain was. The places it created, America, Australia, even Canada before its recent
you gotta,
descent.
I don't know about that.